So I'm going to make this pretty quick. I'm really actually have a whole lot going on, but I've actually been interested in talking about it a little bit on and off because it's almost like I want to do like a public service announcement kind of thing because I do feel so impacted. No pun intended. From, I swear to God, that was not I did not have that premeditated. My mind actually has worked like that for decades. I don't know why it does that, but it does all the time. Anyway, it just tends to put things together that I once read a study that said, never mind, I won't get into it. Anyway, so the concussion. I did it to myself, playing in the kitchen, actually with Anthony, and making sandwiches. There was mayonnaise involved. It was really truly a joke. I truly did it to myself. I was running backward from him, and he had mayonnaise, and he was gonna like put it on my nose, and I was like, no. And the back door was sorry, I have a lot going. Like my hair, there's stages of hairstyling, so this is one of the stages. Because I have so much hair, it takes me it takes me stages because it's so much, and I'm kind of a naturalist in some ways. And when I use chemicals, don't get me wrong, this is blow dried out, and it's got all kinds of different things to. Anyway, I'm really into my products. It's like ridiculous too, the cost. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And you have to pay that if you want good hair, good skin, good teeth, good nails. Okay, sorry. I'm completely digressing. I lost control. But listen, since I was 35, that's been too long. When I was 35, I noticed my skin, and I had been using moisturizers my whole life, but when I was 35, I was like, holy God, what's happening to my skin? I freaked out, and then I started really investing. Anyway, so this is partial product, clearly no makeup, but this is the start of the hair. Like tomorrow, I don't exactly know what I'll do with it, but it's pretty much prime for me to go in any direction. I can do big. I can just go in any direction. My hair is very flexible. Anyway, God, sorry. One of the things that has happened with the concussion. So anyway, I concussed myself, and it was very dangerous for a little while. I'm not going to kid you. So I'm not going to make light of that because I've been kind of joking about it a lot and everything. But it was actually quite serious for a while. And in my struggle with semi-unconsciousness to remain conscious, because I feared for my safety if I went unconscious. It's an amazing struggle. Sorry, I have a fan on me. I'm just running around. There's so much going on, and it's. But so this is one of the pieces I'm wearing. I think tomorrow, or maybe to the wedding. Anyway, it was very serious initially in the beginning, as far as my safety. I believe I hit it so hard. I hit the door so hard that it was actually incredible, and I knew immediately I was in trouble. But anyway, so I got past that, and used ice and nascent iodine to heal myself, pretty much. And there in the beginning, I wasn't certain how affected I was going to be or for how long I was going to be affected because head injuries are insidious, and I know I've said that. I've written it a few times recently, just now as I've started to open up about the concussion. But, I was really, I was terrified. I'd never experienced anything like it in my life. Again, being 43 years of age, I've been very fortunate in so many ways. I mean, I know there's been a lot of tragedy in my life, and we've talked about that, and I'm very open about it, but I've also been amazingly, amazingly fortunate in so many ways. I just, so this, I've had injuries before, and I've been in automobile accidents. My stepmother actually created a serious injury in my body. I have things that are wrong, quote wrong, but I do not seek medical care for them because I am fortunate, I guess, in the sense that my body, I just don't seem to experience maybe these things like other people. So I've been extraordinarily fortunate. I mean, really, literally, it's not an exaggeration. The stuff that I'm speaking of is skeletal, so you can see it in X-ray. So there's nothing wrong with me that isn't actually reflected immediately in an X-ray. And there's like, I have spondylolisthesia, so all kinds of like little things, but I'm very strong woman, apparently, and have not sought, regular and consistent medical care for any of this stuff. I mean, when symptoms have presented themselves, I had them checked out and treated if necessary in the time and the moment. And then once I learned, of course, which was in 24 to 48 hours, just about everything that there was to know about what I was experiencing, because I researched like I won't stop. I'm like a machine. So the same thing happened with, well, I didn't have to research anything. I didn't. I was posting, I think within 3 hours after the impact. I never looked up anything on a concussion until 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was just how much time should pass before I go to sleep. And I needed pure journals. I didn't need, nonsense. So, but at that point, I'd had ice on the whole top of my head, not just the spot. I was like, fuck that. Give me as many bags. And it was like heavy. And my neck, the whiplash the next day, holy shit. When the whiplash presented itself the next day, I thought I was going to die. Okay. But let me tell you something, how ignorant we are about, because then I was like, okay, let me research this a little bit more, just like whatever, like, right? Because, I knew that I'll tell you why I didn't research it immediately. I knew immediately I was in danger. That's all I needed to know. There was no everything. I learned so much from Natasha Richardson's head injury, because I was and this is what I told the doc. I did get assessed 5 days. Saturdays. Let's go Sunday, because I injured Saturday night, so you can't count that as a day. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days into the injury, I was assessed for neurological, and which I was already, the story is amazing. You wouldn't believe. I totally treated myself. I was my first responder. In 10 minutes of that was semi-unconscious state. It was really shocking and amazing and scary as fuck. I'm not going to kid you guys. This is just for my Facebook friends only. I will not be putting this on YouTube, but it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I will not kid you. Not just upon impact, of course, because upon impact, I'm like, well, I knew I hit hard. I was like, well, we're going to see where this goes pretty quickly. Because when you're seriously injured, you're going to, especially a brain injury, you're going to present very quickly. You will present with whatever symptoms you'll present. So, sure enough, within 5 or 10 minutes of the impact, I started losing consciousness. And that was insane. I'll go into detail maybe later about what I experienced, because I experienced some really amazing things in all actuality. One of which was my ear canals being represented in my mind's third eye as black holes in the universe. It was beautiful. As clear as, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. In such a serious state. I kept waiting to die. I kept waiting for that next, if you start vomiting, you have to dial 911. If but if I went unconscious, I would have been in trouble. So, yeah, I will go into details of some of the stuff I experienced. It was totally amazing. So we'll see. So whiplash presented the next day, which was Sunday. And I got to tell you, if I would have just thought but I was concussed and I was scared. I was just scared. I just wanted, I was just terrified. So, I kept ice on my head for the 10 hours and then slept for an hour, set an alarm. I juggled alarms I never slept more than 3 hours for 4 or 5 days in a row to monitor. I didn't want to go into a deep sleep in case there was a bleed. Because the first 7 to 14 days are critical, and a head injury is critical the rest of your life, unfortunately. So it's like the more you know, the more you know, and I'll tell you what, I already knew far more. I was like, I sat there, like seriously, as soon as my head hit, I thought, well, only time will tell now. Because even if you're rushed to the ER and you do everything right, if it's your time and it's through a head injury, you're going. And I mean, that's just the bottom line. So I knew, I was just like, well, here we go. But when the whiplash presented itself the next day, I was like, you have effing got to be kidding me. It was so bad. I could not turn. Ready? This is me. This is how much I could turn my head to the right. This is my right, by the way. Like this. Oh, yep, that was it. For days and days and days. And that pain and the injury moved from the head to the neck the next day, presented into the trapped torso, never presented in the pecs, stayed all in the back, hit between the shoulder blades, as it maintained in the neck, which was pain beyond reason. I refused to take OTCs as a remedy because that can create additional bleeding. Can't do it. You have to know there's so many fundamental rules that I already knew. I was just like, even though I did do a couple things that were highly, highly unusual and unique, but my instinct, I did it based on instinct. And I won't say what they were, and because, it's actually not recommended. And I knew, like I said, Natasha Richardson, when she died, this is why I learned about head injuries, because she had hit her head. Ambulance showed up. She was like, no, I'm fine. And she was the one who said, no, I'm fine. Sent the ambulance away, and hours later, she went into, a coma, and she died. They pulled her off life support 5 days later, I believe, and she died. But what shocked me was that not only did she say, no, I'm good, right? So you're like, well, okay, she wasn't acting insane, because they would have been like, no, ma'am, we need to take you in. But she was walking around talking to her kids. She hit the head, but didn't keep ice on it immediately. And what was really weird about it is it was just she was on skis, but they were like on the children's slope. So it wasn't like she was doing any kind of aggressive or extreme or advanced. Even, she was not even, I think she was with her children on like the easiest, and just fell back and hit her head. And that's what stunned me about that. Because I remember thinking, I didn't understand the brain injuries at that time, clearly, right? So then I became obsessed, like anything else that once it grabs me, I'm like, ah! And I just want to learn everything I can about it, because of course it's preventative in nature for the most part, but also, I mean, it's life-saving knowledge. So not only is it like preventative if something were to happen to me, but then if something were to happen to anyone around me, I would know, okay, here's a database of knowledge to save people's lives. But I've done this since I was really, really young, but the head injury thing, it really, Natasha Richardson's head injury and her particular incident is what, I was like, oh my God, how could she have, if this was so deadly, how could she have been up walking around? So there's so much ignorance about head injuries. We think that, like, oh, you hit your head really hard. Oh, you're probably okay. Walk it off. I got to tell you, if you jar your head, man, especially like it was on the door. So it was like, because the door was open. So it was the side, the outside facing frame. So it was very succinct and very solid. I mean to tell you, when I hit that door, I was like, I was in shock. Immediately I was in shock, not medical shock. I was in knowledge shock. I think I just made that up. Knowledge shock. I mean, instantly, knowledge shock. I knew how hard I hit that door, and I went immediately. And I did. It was a lot of pain, so much pain, man. And when I started struggling in a semi-unconscious state, scariest freaking, I'm telling you. Okay, so yes, this is literally, I'm not kidding. It was the most dangerous injury of my life. 4 days in, I went and got neurologically examined because that was on the 28th, and the 29th is when I recorded that video about my death dream. Struggling. If you haven't seen the death dream and you don't know this, and you don't put the fact of a dialogue that I had, I posted this on my wall on Thursday, I think it was. I started kind of opening up about it a little bit. I posted about the head injury, about the concussion, the head injury. I posted the video from July the 29th where I was talking about one of my death dreams. And then but the day before that, I started changing my will. So on 8/23, so on 7/29, I talk about at length the death dream I had. That almost just, it's clearly haunting and stunning when you look at it. And then on 8/23, I started changing my will, which was a significant change. And then on 8/24, at approximately 9:30 in the morning my time, I was having a conversation on a medical board. Well, it was on a medical topic about CPR, which I dropped in the link to that conversation because prophetic would not be the word just for that conversation alone. When you don't factor in the death dream, the changing the will, the conversation about 911 immediate first aid response. And 8.5 hours later, I was put in that position the same day. So I was scared. So I did a video. You saw me open up this bottle of champagne on it was on the 28th, leading up to midnight on the 29th. Is that what it was? No, I think it may have just been the 20th. I'm a little bit confused. Yes, because your short-term memory, the short-term memory is a little wanky. Dizzy all the time. For the first, oh gosh, I call it headiness. I've named it headiness. What I suffered. How I've described it is, it was like I was this was after the concussion, after the whiplash presented itself. And the whiplash, literally, it just worked. It's still in the base of my spine, where the spondylolisthesis lies. And the spondylolisthesis is something I've controlled through basically muscle, keeping strong muscles. And so anyway, gosh. So yeah, a lot of symptoms. Oh, this is how I've described it. Okay, standing in a big bell, one of those big, thick bells, right? And you're standing in it, and you're just tall enough to where the bell doesn't touch your head, but maybe by 3 inches to 6 inches. And then multiple people start hitting that bell. When you get headiness, that's what it feels like. Total confusion. There were times where Anthony would be talking to me, and I would be like, stop, stop, stop. You're confusing me. And it was just words. And so it was extraordinarily shocking to me when I was 7 days in and I experienced headiness 7 days in. I was like, oh my God. See, everything has really gotten much better, like literally in the last 48 hours. It's kind of, and I'm like, I'm so thankful. I just can't because you could not imagine what unless you've had a concussion. I'm sorry, I don't mean to presume that you've not experienced a concussion at the audience of this, but I never have. I'm 43. I've never known anyone personally where I nurtured them or I was impacted by a person that I loved from a concussion in their life. So I was very ignorant about the reality of how we're affected. I mean, Anthony had to help me up and down the stairs, and I was so affected. Now, I've yet to work out. This happened on 8/24, Saturday evening. I have yet to work out once. Can't. Well, no. Still, the head is still there. The headiness is still there. Like, it's not like it was, but it's still it's still there, but so much better. Oh my gosh. Even today, I've been just amazed. Like today, I didn't experience actual headiness once. I get like a little pressure and, kind of some discomfort, and definitely still experiencing discomfort on my right trap, but that was an injury before I whacked my head. Even the whiplash on the left side is now starting to clear out. I think the last of the injury through the spine was in the base of the spine because it moved. Oh God, it was awful. And I didn't want to take any over-the-counter medications because of the potentiality of bleeding, brain bleed from injury. So it was like, no, so it was like ice for like days and days and days. Ice. And not much else. It was pretty much awful. The only thing I used was ice. I used nascent iodine, and I used medical marijuana. I think the medical marijuana, which is prescribed to me, probably kept me from having a heart attack or stroking out from fear. Because sometimes, right, too much information can be a bad thing as well. Too much knowledge, I suppose, if understood. And I was terrified. I was really terrified for my life for days. I mean, 7 days in, I'm standing with my finger ready to hit 911. And then now it's been 9 days. So that was 2 days ago. The headiness came on. It was hitting me in the afternoon was when it would really start and then just remain. And it was awful. But I couldn't move. Like I was real. And some of the movement, like when you see the videos and everything that I'm doing, there's a great deal of there's a lot of effort going into maintaining what you're seeing me express. And there's still falters and failures in those videos. And of course, because it's my mind and my brain doing it, I'm like, I see it. Texting was very difficult for me for days and days and days and days and days. Well, cognitively, I was wiped. It was awful. I would be typing even when I was posting comments. Sometimes you would have no idea how long it would take me to respond to a comment because I would have to, complete words were missing in the sentence. Then it wasn't structured properly, wasn't punctual. And then as I was typing, and it was very frustrating. And my instinct told me to push through instead of rest. Like, don't stop working on these things. Keep pushing them forward. Because I was afraid if I stopped, my brain would get soft there and just go, okay, this is comfortable. This is where we're going to land. And it could work like that, but that's not necessarily how it's going to work. So I was just going with my own instinct based on my own knowledge, fears, intuition. Like I said, I went 5 days before, I went 6 days before I slept more than 4 hours at a time. And it started off in an hour increment, 2 hour increment, then it hit 3 hour increments. And I mean, when I say 3 hour increments, I would sleep for 3 hours and then get up. Yep. Get up for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours. Sleep for 3 or 4. Get up. Well, I was doing 3, 3, 3, and then I started doing 4, 4, 4. I did 3, 3, 3 for the first initial 3 days, 4 days, something like that. Yeah, I followed a plan. As soon as I came out of that semi-unconscious state, which was awful and amazing. I got a piece of tape on my finger. Awful and amazing at the same time. Of course, completely terrifying. But what I experienced was amazing too. I mean, you can't take what I saw in my mind's eye, what my body was experiencing, fighting for consciousness. I got into a shower at one point when I started to go unconscious with a bag of ice on my head and falling backward. I knew that I might be in danger, so I decided not to take my trip of unconsciousness, but to fight it with everything that I had. I had Anthony help me into a cold shower with the ice on my head. When I was standing in the cold shower with the ice on my head, my body was like, whoa. And there was just, and I was in a semi-unconscious state walking to the shower. And then, I mean, the jolt of electricity that came through me, I cannot describe. Undeniably felt. Yep, undeniably felt. And then after that just jolted me. I was like, oh God, get me out of here. You've got to get me out of here. I don't think I can stand for 1 second. Because I mean, Anthony was literally like holding my, arm everywhere after I started to lose consciousness from that point forward. Anthony was my seeing eye boy for the longest time. Like I would have to stop at the bottom 2 stairs because I couldn't turn my head down, so I couldn't see. And I just couldn't. It's part of the balance. The eyes and the brain equilibrium between the ears is we have visual impact. And I'm a dancer from when I was 5 years old, so I have my instinct is dead on, but it doesn't matter. My body was like, nope. And it was the funniest thing you've ever seen. I would stop at those stairs and Anthony's holding my arm at the bottom of this because he would walk in front of me. But then once I couldn't see, I would stop. I was like, and I knew there were 2 stairs that I was always stopping on. And I was like, oh, where am I? How many stairs? He's like, 2. Like, so is this the next one? I mean, and I would get confused. Like, just any conversation, I'd be like, stop. And it was just, in life threatening, for the first 24 hours. So that's something else I wanted to say. People think that I'm like so open and I put my whole life online. That is the most laughable thing, and I've never wanted to address it. I know it's out there and people think that, right? They're like, oh, look at her. She's got like these provocative photos and, she's really wild. And I can assure you do not know me. Period. You might know some characteristics of me and reflections and some of the things that I share, but I'm all over the place, which is reflective of insanity. But you don't know me. I'm far more private than most people ever know. And so I think that's hilarious because if you think about it, like literally this was a life-threatening situation that happened nine days ago. And the only reason I'm speaking about it is because I feel so much better. But I'm like, okay, I can now talk about this with a certain respect and integrity and balance that this conversation is going to require because I was terrified for days and days and days and terrified. I mean terrified. Terrified for my life. Finger ready to dial 911. I think I'm going to go unconscious for days. Yep. Just ready. I have written directions in the hallway when you walk through the front door, taped to the wall, my name, date of birth, my injury, what hospital I want to be taken to, that kind of jazz. Still up there because 9 days, I'm far better off than what I was, initially, of course, and even the few days to follow. But still, it's really early, but I feel really fortunate. I feel like I come back really hard. Today is the first day I've been able to walk without feeling like I'm creating so much pain throughout my spinal and back region from the whiplash. Yep. Yeah. Crazy. There you go. I gotta go. It's almost 30 freaking minutes I've been talking about this. But I gotta tell you, I could talk about it for a while and share so many different aspects of what I experienced in the first 24 hours of the impact because it was literally amazing. And I've made videos and was talking about some really, interesting things, I suppose. But, it was just, anyway, I'm going to go. Okay, there you go. There's my concussion head injury, most serious injury I've ever suffered story. Ha! Okay, Take care, you guys. Be safe, be good, and talk to you soon. So excited about the wedding. Yay. Okay, bye.